Okay, so let's talk a little bit about actually how to implement healthy changes and how to change your diet. We are, or most of us are completely overwhelmed these days. We have political chaos going on, we have inflation, everything is becoming more expensive. It's starting to be hard to eat healthy for many because they simply can't afford the foods that they know would be healthy. And with all the work we're doing and all the running around and trying to balance private and professional lives, many of us are completely overwhelmed. So while the idea sounds good of I'm going to be powerful and I'm going to change my diet completely, that approach usually sets you up for failure. There's very few people I know that actually manage to really push through with that. So these are a few tips that I found that make it a little bit easier to help you adjust your diet. So the first thing is I found out that it's a lot easier to add something healthy to your diet than it is to take something away that's unhealthy. So a good way to get started on everything is to make a goal of, for example, add one piece of fruit to every breakfast. So you'll add like a handful of raspberries or strawberries, an apple, a pear, a banana. Just make it a habit of every breakfast to add one piece of fruit to it. The key is you want to do one thing at a time, like one piece, like add one fruit to breakfast, and then do that until it becomes second nature. Sometimes that takes a week, sometimes that takes 2 weeks. Do it at your own pace. You will sometimes forget it. That is okay too. But just work on it. Forgive yourself if you slipped, because if you don't forgive yourself, then you go into the shame spiral, and that will cause you to eat more unhealthy or crave more unhealthy foods. So be easy with yourself, but make the list and say, okay, so you can start add one piece of fruit to your breakfast. Adding a vegetable to lunch and dinner is a good idea. That can be either in cooked vegetables, or it could even be something simple like celery sticks or carrot sticks with some dip. It can be good to consciously add more fermented foods to the diet. So you can make it a goal of adding more yogurt or sauerkraut or anything, kefir, any way how you would like to introduce more fermented food to your diet, because that will help with probiotics and with your gut health. You could have fun with deciding to add some healthy snacks to your daily life. You can start by making the goal of drinking 1 glass of water after each meal. A lot of my patients had a hard time drinking enough, so just making the conscious effort and put that on your program. And again, only one thing at a time, because if you've too much new change, you are going to set yourself up for failure. So just start after each meal, drink like a small glass of water. That gives you like 3 glasses of water extra a day. For people who don't exercise a lot of times just have the resolve to go for a walk around your block every night after dinner. I can't tell you how many of my patients had a really hard time getting motivated to do something, but the problem was when they thought about exercise, they thought about going to the gym, they thought about all these perfect options, but it was just overwhelming, and there was no way they were going to find the space or the energy in their daily lives to actually follow through on it. However, just saying, well, I'm just going to walk once around the block after dinner, that's really easy to do. It's a teeny tiny baby step. And it will help you digest your food better because you're moving your energy, so the body will have a chance to move the digestion as well. And a lot of my patients ended up coming back and were all proud because they ended up walking 4 or 5 blocks every evening, because is that once they were out and they were around the first block, the energy came, they started feeling better. So that, for example, is a good way to modestly start increasing exercise. One thing I recommend when it comes to adding things is make lists. It's really tempting when you go to the store to look at everything that's healthy and then come back with a whole bag full of healthy foods that you're not really crazy about. Because again, that's also, if you're not really crazy about a food, you're most likely not going to eat it or not going to enjoy it. So what helps is to make a list with fruits and vegetables that you enjoy and that you also know are good for you. And then you can go over those lists with your meal planning or when you make shopping lists, and make sure that the things you buy to add are all things that you enjoy. Another way to beef up your diet or become healthier is by slowly reducing certain items. So for example, if you're somebody who's addicted to soda and drinks 10 sodas a day, just making a resolve to drink 1 can of soda less a day makes a difference. One thing you can also do rather than reducing it is you can start to replace it with healthy options. For example, again, if you're used to sugary drinks, you could start buying bubbly water and 100% fruit juice and just make a homemade soda with half bubbly water and half fruit juice. And then over time, you can do like 1/3 juice, 2/3 water. So that's a way how you replace the sugar craving that you fill with a soda by using juice and water. And then that gives you a possibility to slowly wean off the juice, and eventually you'll just be happy with water. Also, just getting creative with healthy snacks and making snack trays and stuff. Try to make it fun. And that way it's going to be much easier to transition into a healthier diet in a way that is sustainable. You want to add one thing at a time and make sure it becomes a habit. And then you start with the next one. So one thing that I can recommend for that too is see if you can find an accountability buddy. It's always helpful if you have somebody that you can talk to. Like for example, if you're going through a really frustrating period of time and you're like tempted to dive into gummy bears and chocolate and all the sweet stuff, you can call your friend, your accountability buddy, and say, hey, listen, I need to talk. I'm feeling like this and I really want to eat this. Because the key is emotions don't last. Emotions come, they peak, and then they go again. So the key is to make it over the peak without engaging in the behavior that you use to appease that emotion. And once you feel better, then you're going to be able to make better choices. That's also why it's really useful to have these lists. For example, I used to always have a red list and a green list. So every time when I got really stressed and I wanted to get into stress or trauma-induced behavior, I would pull those lists out and I would look at the red list and the green list, and then I would make sure that I picked something from the green list that I could do to help me manage the emotion that was good. And it helped me to stay away from worse behaviors like calling your ex or eating a pound of ice cream. So all that can be eliminated if you have these lists, if you prepare, so that when you get into this emotional trigger that prompts you to jump into unhealthy behaviors, you actually have a person that you can talk to, and the talking will help you process the emotion. And also you will have a list that will show you who's safe to call, and it'll be other things like my list has buy myself flowers, take a hot Epsom salt bath, make a mixed salad with berries in it because that added the sweetness that I needed. So there's a lot of ways how you can slowly learn to read your body, to see what triggers certain emotions, and then have safeguards with lists and people to call that can help you to choose a healthier behavior over the bad one. And most importantly, don't judge yourself too harshly. World does that for us. The last thing we need is ourselves speeding us up. To be forgiving with yourself, understand that you do the best you can at any given moment. And when you fail, don't look at it with disdain and judgment. Look at it with curiosity and say, oops, I slipped. And then you can look at what was it that caused the slip. Is it always when you have to deal with certain people? Then it may be time to let those people go. Is it when you get into certain places? So it's much better to figure out what triggered the unhealthy behavior and then creatively figure out ways to overcome that or replace it with healthier behaviors than it is to just be judgmental and beat yourself up. Because again, every time you beat yourself up, you go into a new shame spiral, and that will trigger even more unhealthy behaviors. So be easy on yourself and make lists.